Yes.
Beckett. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
check it out.
They're just waiting and nothing's happening.
Oh, we're live, dog.
We are live on Facebook now. Jazz Cabbage Cafe. Woo!
Here you go.
Jamie Sillick Stoic. Jamie, why are you such furrowed in the brow area?
Trying to come into the.
It's very stressful for Jamie.
I'm still
He's
figuring
such a
this out.
Into the
perfectionist,
thing,
you know.
so it's get stressful come anxiety.
Here we go.
So.
All right, now I'm more comfortable.
Nice shot of Shelly taking a
So-
deep drink.
Shelly driving.
I know, Shelly's driving and breaking curfew.
So this is our second time around. First time went pretty well, although we, took a little bit to get started here today. We're still running pretty good. It worked.
Thanks for hanging with us, everybody that's
Yeah.
watching us live streaming on Facebook Live. Yeah, Facebook world.
So this is a little bit more structured this time. We have guests, we have some topics, all that kind of stuff. But first of all, I want to give my thanks, and I think on behalf of the show, to all of the essential workers out there in the cannabis industry and otherwise. It's really nerve-wracking and stressful to go out. Not for Shelly apparently, but for most people.
No, Shelly's just winging it out there, spreading the
paper all
COVID
over.
wherever she goes.
But that's very much appreciated. I just want to make sure those people are recognized and keep that in mind. So, last time worked out pretty well. This is our second time. We're going to have guests. We're going to have some more topics and that kind of stuff. We have, I think, just about the full crew here. Ray again. Didn't quite make it on. We're going to get him, though, for sure. Maybe during this show or maybe next time around. Either way. But our show parallels...
Exactly.
Shelly complaining
Shelley's-
about it not being 420.
She said
First
he'll
show's
show
up
up
till
around
420 anyway, Shelly says.
Oh.
So, yeah,
I
about
was gonna
420,
say,
he'll roll
she's
in.
driving and complaining at the same
No,
time.
I'm just saying Ray will be here at 420.
At 420. Okay.
Oh, he might just show up right then, yeah.
All right, the great Karnak. We'll see.
Our show works in support and kind of parallels some other really good shows that are established out there. Of course, Planet Green Trees, a lot of us are on that show a lot, pretty consistently. And there's Medical Mondays. In fact, they're going to start broadcasting again pretty soon. And
We did last night. So
there you go.
On
With
here.
Berg?
Okay.
on here on Zoom.
And we're invited to be on there for the next broadcast.
Yep.
And I invited them, but Berg's got to be working. So, of course, Michael comes on this show quite a bit. And so it's a nice grouping of shows. I'm glad that everybody's starting to broadcast in this way to keep it going. And this should be, included more in the future. We've talked about this before. These tools have been available to us for a long time. We've just taken a while to get there. This whole situation has forced the issue a little bit for stuff like this. So who's all here today? Jim, Salame.
Jim Salame.
I like to say Salam because I don't like to infer that you're lame at all, because I don't think
Salam does mean peace, so that's nice.
Peaceful Jim, what's up, my brother?
Good to see you guys. I'm so happy to be here. You guys, I haven't seen anybody since I last saw you about a week ago. So
Yeah, I'll tell you what, as I'm introducing everybody here, also, if you'd like to add in anything about what you got going on, what you'd like to say about yourself, feel free. But also, we want to talk a little bit about the response that some people have to the governor's orders and thinking that maybe she took things too far last time around. And there is a protest planned for tomorrow for people going out in their cars and creating gridlock in Lansing. How about as we introduce people, let us know briefly what you think about that situation. James, we're already talking with you, so you get going.
yeah, I'm happy to say something. I find I don't know. I read a little bit about that, and it sounds like there's going to be a lot of people there. I think it's more political, and it's just like if Governor Whitmer would have done the complete opposite, people would do the opposite on the other side of the aisle. It's just anything to reject it of what's coming from her office in many respects, and not looking at the fact that this is something that hasn't really happened ever in our country, and to this extent. So I think it's kind of ridiculous that people should want to go and cause a traffic jam around the Capitol instead of trying to find a way to make this better and not resist making it worse.
Excellent. Of course, Jim's has been with Home of Medicine for a long time, and the time when they represented the absolute highest standard in the state, he was managing and running things there. And it's in a little bit of a new world now, but it's still a great place and organization.
It is a new world. And if I could add, I got my cannabis delivered today from Home of Medicine.
Nice.
Wow.
Much easier than curbside for its location, I'm sure. But and then also with DNA Decriminalized Nature Ann Arbor right now, as is Colin, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that more on the show as we always do, and have Julie Barron and many others back on. In fact, we have Anquinette on later on today, who took it upon herself to bring that issue up during her address at Hash Bash. So we can talk about it a little bit then. So Shelly, Michigan Cannabis Industries Association, and coach, and many other things. What do you think? What do you got going on?
I don't think much about it because I've really decreased my news and Facebook exposure, and I'm rarely around other people. I mean, I live by myself. When I go deliver masks, I'm like, hey, I'm the one with the masks, and I toss them a package, and then I've seen a couple of other people. I'm not a big stores person. And people arguing back and forth. What I really think is what we're seeing right now is just the way everyone responds to fear. Some people respond to fear by holding up and crying. Some people respond to fear by lashing out at other people and feeling self-righteous. But I think people are just responding to whether it's a fear that they're going to get sick, whether it's a fear they're going to be poor, a fear that life as we know it is crumbling. And maybe they can't even put a name on it, but I think when people lash out against a government official, you're really just seeing whatever their expression of fear is.
Okay. Nice. So you are out supporting essential workers right now, which is also very commendable. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Bringing masks to people who could use it.
I carry a letter that says, I've never been stopped for any reason, but I wonder what people, it's interesting because since I haven't been on Facebook that much.
Well, stay 6 feet away from people you encounter out in the real world, and that's part of avoiding issues.
Right. I guess one of my questions is, if people are going to be on Facebook talking about staying quarantined, but they also talk about getting their food delivered, and they also talk about ordering things from Amazon, it's like, it's just.
I can hardly hear her.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if anybody
It's
else
okay.
can.
You know what though? We're running through kind of this introduction
Okay,
here anyway. Yeah, let's go through this. And Colin,
The governor.
you're not responsible for doing anything this
I'm
time.
not.
Normally you're running the boards and stuff. You're just here participating. That's cool. Smoking a joint.
Yep. So I think that it's kind of strange that people are gonna go in traffic for a couple hours when you would rather just sit home. So dangerous out there, anyways, and I'm sure people are gonna get out of their cars and walk around downtown.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just feel like the Senate Majority Leader and the House Majority Leader just kind of stand in opposition to whatever the governor says and tried to lead everyone to follow what they probably, if they were in charge, they'd have to extend the deadline anyway and everything. But it's just more about their stance and their position and how they can appeal to their base and whatnot. So I think it's a really big political move for the most part. I know I saw some people on Safer Mish that said they were going.
One person said he was going.
One
That's
person.
One person, okay.
Others on there
There are others that were somewhat supportive, had that tone of support in their.
Yeah.
But did not say they were going. They were saying that they supported your freedom of speech or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. All right, Deb, what do you think?
Okay,
You sound like a fan.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan, and I think it's really selfish and ridiculous to not only go out to expose yourself, but to expose other people, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. There's so many reasons that you have to stay home, and it's not just spreading the disease, it's making sure that we don't overwhelm the healthcare system. So you don't want a bunch of cars out on the road, a bunch together in Lansing. I mean, I just really think it's misguided. And I think that if everybody around the country buckled down in what we did here in Michigan, this would be over a lot faster. I think that the people who are trying to open up so fast and are crying about where are we going to buy our tomato seeds from, guess what? Buy a tomato, you have tomato seeds. Anything is available online anyway. I mean, come on. A few weeks is not going to kill anybody. You don't need to be out golfing. You don't need to be spreading this stuff around. You don't need to be. I love the fact that our governor did this. I think that she took a real hard hand with this, and I think that's what's necessary in a time of emergency. You know, everybody stay home a few weeks, and then we'll all be safer on the other end of it.
Exactly.
I just think it's misguided.
Hey, Rick.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to add in there.
Sure.
I also read this morning that this is basically being backed by the DeVos Foundation. Need I say more? Okay. The DeVos.
A lot of those people also backed Schuette in his Save the
That's
Children
right.
effort when he was working against
exactly, and we all know what
the
Betsy
Michigan Medical
DeVos.
Marijuana Act. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know what Betsy DeVos has done to the education system, or what she's trying to do. So, enough said on that.
Well, I'll jump in.
Sure.
Again, thanks for the intro, Jamie.
Yep.
Gridlock is essentially when there are so many cars stopped in one place, normal people cannot get through. Normal people are inconvenienced, and through their inconvenience, they learn more about the subject, which was the cause of the intentional gridlock. Guess what? We're in the middle of a COVID crisis. There ain't no people driving on the streets, bro.
That's right.
So when you do an intentional blockage like that, you're only hurting your own people. So your own people are going to stand there, have a big kumbaya, cough, cough, kumbaya moment, right? Where it's going to be like CPAC all over again. All these conservative guys get together, get sick, and go home. So my real concern, though, is that you've got people that are going to travel distance, like from the upper parts of the lower or from the upper peninsula. They're going to drive all the way down to Lansing, expose themselves to some other people, and then travel back up north to a place that may have had very little exposure. It's entirely possible that an event like this could trigger some outbreaks in some small communities that have not yet seen the coronavirus. I disagree with the logic involved with bringing people down to Lansing for this. Makes no sense. Deb, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and these small communities and up north, their healthcare system is really only made for a small population. I remember up in Traverse City a couple of years ago when all the nurses at the one hospital went on strike. They were just fucked because there's nothing else up there. If a bunch of people, like Rick says, take this back to a small community, their local health care is not going to be able to take care of it.
All right, it's 4:20. That's cliffhanger of this. I'll come back and say what I think and ask everybody else too. But we're going to try to play a video. We're going to try to up our game here a little bit.
Wow.
Throw in a video, take a quick break for a second, and maybe have a couple more along the way.
I'm gonna
So join us in reassessing things and getting a little high maybe, and hopefully we'll be able to watch a video for a minute.
Not me.
Yeah,
Not the driver.
That matter most.
Not the
Be
driver.
healthy.
Not on camera while you're driving.
Yeah.
Are we playing a video?
You're doing the right one?
No, but whatever. It was not.
I was digging it.
I can play that one.
That was supposed to be kind of before the guest, because the guests are coming on, and then we'll watch your video before they come on. This is just I want to play Rick's video here.
Oh, I thought you wanted to play Q's video.
No, play the Q's video
You said
before
Q's
she comes
video.
on at the time slot in which I sent you on the list with the corresponding times.
I get you, man.
No.
I just received the text me just now that said play video. Look, I'm gonna show the world. I'm gonna show the world.
This is the time. This is the time now for
This video.
for not having things perfect. There it is. That's the video.
Nice.
Damn it. Sorry, guys.
It's all right, man. We grow every week. We'll get there.
There we go. Murder.
Like,
Hi. Hi. What's up, Lauren?
Oh, John Schlicker.
I'm not seeing the video at all.
we're all seeing it, Deb. Sorry.
Not seeing anything. I've got a.
Woo!
You're in like every other photo, Deb. Okay. Oh, there's you. There's you by yourself.
Yeah, I don't see it at all.
Probably have to change the page or something like that.
Yes.
Nice.
Good one of Shelly.
Oh, now I see it.
That video is playing on Facebook too.
Yeah,
Oh.
I hear. Yeah, Dave's laughing in the bedroom, so he must be seeing it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it looks good.
Good job, Rick.
There's a good
Oh,
one.
sweet.
Video montage. The
Yes.
thing is, there's a lot of people that come new to the industry, and they're like, "How come I can't do something like this?" Because you haven't been here for 10 years, bitch. Because you haven't got 10 years worth of photos to build up. Because you haven't been around long enough to accumulate the resources needed to be able to do something like that.
Face
And-
it, you're
Hey,
just
Rick,
not as cool as Rick.
I'm
That's
impressed
all.
about how many photos
won't
you
be
actually
there.
have there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I could. I have a bunch of everybody, but I don't think I could ever compile them.
Well, the thing is, I'm a photographer. I do that. You know what I'm talking about, Gauci. Every photo I take goes in a file that's got a name on it. So most of my stuff is already available. So when I want to do a video like this, I've already got everything in a file. I can just drag it, pull it, and rearrange it.
I'll tell you
have
what.
them arranged by name?
No, I don't have them arranged by name. That's a lot of work.
I know, I was just kidding.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure a couple of us have our own file, I would imagine.
Yes, all of the MI legalized
Of course
principles.
does.
All of the people
No
from
doubt.
CRMLA, Jeff Hank, Robin Snyder, I've got files on everybody that I've taken pictures of in the past, so that when I mentioned them in an article that I was writing during the legalization, I'd have a file photo to be able to use that was my own copyright, that I didn't have to worry about
That's so
requesting
smart.
permission from someone. Well, it all gets back to, you have to put in the effort. If you go to an event, you can go there and drink cocktails and have a great time. But if you go there, take pictures, talk to people, and also have some cocktails and a good time, then you're better off, because now you walk away from the event and you have something durable that you can use later to refer back to.
Hey, so
I think
I just wanted
have
to.
them, but they're not organized.
Hey, Shelly, I still can't really hear you that well. Maybe there's a microphone thing or something like that with the volume we might be able to do. But I just wanted to kind of get back to our subject before we move on. And I think I agree with everybody on some level, although there's still room to not necessarily like, what the governor did and think that maybe it was taking it too far, that type of stuff. But to protest in a way that brings more people, as everybody kind of mentioned here, out and about for no really good reason. And that's stopping at gas stations and then
Right.
returning back to their areas or from whence they came. The lawmakers met recently. They, a lot of people tried to get around that. Maybe they could vote electronically or weigh in differently, or they could put it off a little bit or try to take care of a lot of business at once or something. But now they're going to be meeting from all points around the state a couple of times in a short period of time, and then going back to every county. It's kind of, as little of that, as possible, the better. So to not like the governor and what she's doing is one thing, and maybe write her an email. Religious institutions are exempt from the gathering order, and I don't like that. I wrote her an email and said I don't like that. They should be included. If people are gathering, they are gathering. The period. So that's my protest. I just wrote her an email. Nothing happens from it, which it won't. Then fine. I'm not going to go out and about and try to cause an issue and irritate people and possibly increase the risk of the disease spreading over my protest. And I don't think that those people should either. They should probably let her know they don't like it, but not to continue this what I think is kind of a colossally stupid idea. to gridlock the area. I'd hard to believe there's going to be the 500 cars that are expected.
I
that
don't
many
think
people
so
that have
either.
that much energy to go do something like that. It's just so stupid.
I really hope it's 3 cars just going in a circle.
I hope it's Tim
Three.
Beck standing there by himself with Peter Trost or somebody like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if
You
Tim
know?
decides not to go last minute. Like maybe
I can
takes a
tell you
little bit,
there'll
but I'd like
probably
to give
be
him
some
that kind of
cars there.
credit.
If there's a new Facebook group out there, Michigan's Against Whitmer's Quarantine or something like that. It's quite vile, quite vulgar. I see all the time people tried to join the group and got kicked out because they're not crazy enough. Some people are quite mad
There's
about
a
this.
quiz.
Yeah,
There's a-
and I saw the guy
Is?
who's the admin of the group on the news actually like 2 or 3 times yesterday, and he's a real turd cluster boy. You know, he's one of these guys that I'm telling you, he's one of these guys that like straps 5 guns on and a big machine gun and goes and walks into a school because constitutionally you can. You know, he's one of these dudes. So, yeah.
Hey, so
Nice.
before we have I think Q is coming on first, and then we have Annie Somerville. Of course, both participated in the digital hash bash. Rick put out individual segments of many of the speakers' presentations, and they're really good. They're around 5 minutes. Some get up to maybe 9 minutes or so.
Nice.
Just really cool. So there was a lot. I mean, things got a little unhinged during that day, as we talked about last week, but a lot of great shit was captured, and we're putting it back out in smaller segments now, and a lot of people are able to check it out. And I think there'll be more reach ultimately through this than there will be from the original presentation, from the entire video.
Let's
Happy
talk
doing
about whose video was the most popular. Let's discuss that real quick before
Well,
Q comes on.
That happened just for a moment. And by the way, the most popular
I saw the
video,
next
you want
day.
No,
to tell
Colin.
who's the most?
Colin.
No.
Okay. What was it?
It's Gus
Rosania.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
Professor
Wow.
Rosania from
Yeah.
University of Michigan.
He
Yeah.
circulated it to all of his
amongst
students, obviously.
Well,
Obviously.
maybe some of his peers too, because there's a lot of views on that one. Tommy Chong is doing pretty well too. But yeah, Gus Rosania right out of the gate.
Please.
Boom. So
I thought it was murder.
It was for the first day, but then it
Yeah.
something
He
happened.
kept watching it himself over and
It
over. and
wasn't
over.
me
Click,
watching
click,
it
click.
myself. I just
Bullshit.
It
Come
was
on.
not.
fan.
I think there's a lot of guys out there that like Colin. I mean people like Colin.
People
We
like
like Colin.
People.
We like Colin.
Yes.
Everybody
Everybody
does.
likes Colin. What is there not to like about Colin? Colin is
And
awesome.
shit, we knew him before he was C Murder too.
That's right. Yeah.
that's right.
We're Colin OGs. Whoo. So
See murder.
You know what? It got shared
No.
a lot on the CMFC, the C Murder fan club page.
Nice.
CMFC.
Yeah.
Shelly, you're
Yes,
coming through
official.
loud and clear now.
Official.
Great
Much better.
job.
That's the ticket to bring the mic up there for sure. Excellent job.
You guys
So,
familiar with the CMFC, C Murder fan club? You check it out on Facebook.
No,
I mean,
I
I
think
get
I'm gonna make
messages,
one now.
but
I
I
swear
can't
I'm gonna
see
make
no
one now.
answer to it.
so many messages you can't answer them, Colin. Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm familiar with it.
Don't forget the little people, buddy. Don't forget us little people. C Murder climbs the popularity ladder. So, are we going to try and play Anquinette's video prior to her coming on the show?
Yeah, and Annie's too.
Should
Yeah.
I play it now?
No,
Well, we don't know when she's scheduled, dude.
we
You haven't told us when she's scheduled. So we're
well, Derek knows.
We're guessing.
Derek knows. Nobody's guessing. Derek knows, and
I'm guessing because I'm not Derek.
Right. You're also not playing the video, so he knows
shit.
if he were to read the list that apparently at
I'm
the beginning of the
actually,
show.
I'm
he did
gonna
not
act out the video.
read.
What's up, Razorway?
Is he on? Where's he at? Let me see.
Its audio
be.
is connecting.
Hefe,
I don't
Reyes.
see him. Where you at, Ray? There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Buenos dias.
Turn your
What's up,
phone the
Al?
other way. Turn your phone sideways. No. Yeah, there you go. Now you're big. There you go.
It's I'm a more like now I'm big, eh? I'm
Yeah, now
more
you're
of a I'm more of a grower.
All right.
How's everybody
Oh, there he
doing?
is.
Ray, we're good. We haven't seen you for a while. What's up, Bill?
Ray, are you watching us while you're doing this? That's something else.
That
Caller, could you
Something
turn down your
horrible
radio,
happening.
please?
A shaky connection.
That is a shake.
Unless you're like using your loop machine here to rock out in the background.
That would not surprise me.
Warm lube is a good thing.
So-
Don't knock it.
I was going to get into the economic impact study a little bit. Maybe we'll see what we got toward the end of the show to get into that a little bit. But there's some good stuff there, and the abstract is pretty short. It's got all the relative numbers in it, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But it's good to see. There's a lot of weird noise back there still, Ray. But maybe mute
Turn your
the mic
volume.
for a second.
Turn your TV off or whatever. So. Music. Something's on.
That,
Maybe it's
okay, right?
No, it's
Oh my God. Is it gone? No, it's still there.
It's an echo.
still there.
You're aliens.
Got to mute yourself until you talk.
No,
man.
he's
Gotta
got
mute.
he's got to put headphones on. Does he have?
I'm gonna try
There, you
that.
using headphones? Put your headphones on, baby. There you go. Put your headphones on. See, that's the problem.
That's obnoxious.
It's horrible.
Unit.
Well, it won't happen if
Hit the mute the mic while you're running around trying to do something else.
It's too late. He's gone. There you go.
Helpful.
And that didn't even help. See, I thought that was the reason. and I
Hey,
cannot.
Derek, you can mute him.
Hey, mute the mic or something, Ray. That's overtaking the.
There we go. Now, just wave. Just wave your hand.
That is a little better. That's not. That is. That's not.
No.
That
Right. Hit mute.
is.
See, look at Red came and fucked the whole show up. You know?
Oh shit.
For some reason, our practice run last week was a little smoother. I hope we'll get this together in time for the guests. But
Hey guys, so how does that sound? Is that better?
Oh, God.
Great.
Yeah.
That's
That's
1,000
great.
times better.
Yeah,
Yay!
which you
Thanks for the torture.
Good.
You did that shit on purpose, right? Is that your new
Good
like?
suggestion.
Yeah. Okay. Testy
All right.
testers.
So,
Oh my God.
so
Oh
Jamie,
my
you were
God.
saying.
yeah, well, we'll see what we got toward the end of the show here. After we have Q and Annie Somerville, we're gonna have.
Are you wearing an ascot? Is that an ascot, sir?
It's a cravat.
Ooh.
Thank you very much.
A
Oh,
cravat.
fuck.
It's a
It's
dicky.
a cravat.
I'm
That's
wearing a
badass.
jacket,
Dickie.
so Christine
It's a
thought a
dickie
cravat would
for
look good with it.
Yes, it's a
For-
dickie.
Whatever it is, it's pretty fucking gay.
Razor.
So anyway, get to the economic impact study toward the end, but also like later on after we talk to Q and after we talk to Annie Somerville, Daryl Stavros is going to join us, and
Oh, good.
Third
That's-
Coast, which is on the back of Derek's shirt, as a matter of fact.
Oh shit. Hold
There
up.
it is. That's the old school. That world has come to an end, and
The old hatchback shirt.
it is now Oz at the same location.
Oz,
And
wow.
but Daryl's still involved, and there's
That's
still
rough.
some of the spirit of Third Coast involved.
Should I roll
And,
some of our old Third Coast videos from?
So
Ghost
this
will
was
never leave the
yeah, at
building.
some point, but this was Harper Ventures and Cured Leaf worked with Daryl to form Oz, and he's still a part of it and everything like that. But we'll talk to him about that. But to me, it's important to recognize the Third Coast, and it's the transition into the new world here that's now brought that to an end. But Daryl and I and others put that together very early on, and it's a part of this history, part of this movement. It's been part of our lives for a long time. So I want to address that with him and have him explain what's going on a little bit too. So
Yeah,
You know,
that's that.
Jamie and I get a lot of credit for the things that we did in 2009 and 2010 and 2011 with Big Daddies and with Third Coast. But two guys really were our partners, Rick Ferris and Daryl Stavros. And without those two individuals, the activity that we did, the actions that we did, some of the activism we did never would have been possible. And they've stood tall for years. Daryl's been a fixture. He always contributes when asked. He's been there for patience, even when times were tough for him. He's a good guy. Remember, he's appeared on our show before. He came with Wild and Crazy Man, Boston George. Remember?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, isn't there a photo in your photo video montage or whatever montage
On
of
that perfectly timely played video that just
Yes,
slid in
there's that
seamlessly
video
right
is
at 420.
I have his.
It's in there.
It's in
Yeah,
there.
that
I
was
recall
magic.
seeing it.
Colin for the win. Look at that, Colin.
And I used them as a background a few weeks ago when we were just on Zoom.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I put
No,
up,
it's-
like some like marijuana stuff on the wall today.
If you're gonna do podcasting, you gotta
I
dress
guess-
the set.
Yeah. So
Like me.
Yes.
I
I
made
got
mine
this
look like
with
a
the
car.
works of my children.
Shelly, great camouflage job. I don't know how you're pulling that off with all the shaking you're doing,
Yeah.
like you're simulating the road.
It's amazing. It's a new feature.
Yeah.
They just updated me, so I'm gonna turn it into a plane in a minute.
That's awesome.
Then a spaceship.
Yeah.
I love it. So we may have Daryl coming on. We got Ann Quinnett, and you mentioned a third guest too, Jamie?
Annie Somerville, Ypsilanti
Yes.
City
Annie.
Council representative. Of course, Annie and Q both were on the Hash Bash, and there's segments that have been made out of their presentations that we have. So in a couple minutes, we'll start off with Q. So it'll be another break in the action from us live for just about 5 minutes or so, but we'll see what Q had to say
I'm so
at
excited.
Hash
to
Bash.
see
And, yep, and then we'll talk to her for a few minutes too. So that's the idea, and then we'll try to do the same thing with Annie thereafter.
Mhm. Well, and Ann Quinnett's speech was remarkably brave, because not only did she talk about cannabis and her role in the community, she also had a magic mushroom, and you'll see that in the video when we show it. It's still not legal for us to possess those in the world. It's very bold for her to take that statement, but it is a big move to show support for the DNA Nature Ann Arbor movement.
Yep, decriminalized nature. Of course, yep,
Great.
Colin and Jim part of that.
And Shelly too. Shelly as well.
Did we talk about Baba Kalindi yet?
No,
No,
we
we-
haven't, Shelly.
we haven't, Shelly.
Talk
Well,
about
we
what?
can
Oh,
bring
no,
that up.
no.
What?
If
Baba
we have a
Kalindi
moment right
passed
now,
away this week. Baba
Yeah.
Kalindi was our.
Yeah.
If you guys were at the Decriminalized Nature fundraiser
yeah,
at Lo-Fi Bar, and he gave that fantastic speech.
and
It was wonderful. Yeah,
he was
Colin.
on the steering committee, and he's a really great teacher, like about psychedelic mushrooms and just psychedelics in the whole like world community. And we had him right here in Detroit, and every year he would host a Detroit psychedelic conference. And he passed away on Friday. And they what it said was because of COVID, unfortunately.
Wow.
So our thoughts and prayers are with like his family right now, and just another reminder to be safe, and like you never know when someone you love will be taken away like so quickly. And yeah, and I'm grateful like that I had the ability to like actually like learn a lot from Baba Kalindi. He came to our like psychedelic panel, like meet your local psychedelic experts, and he spoke. It was in Rackham Auditorium last September. He spoke at our Decriminalized Nature Ann Arbor fundraiser like 3-4 weeks ago, seems like. So yeah, and he had hosted like a bunch of different psilocybin mushroom talks at the Michigan Psychedelic Society. He's the most interesting like person. Like I've talked about him a ton of times on the podcast.
Yeah.
So Shelly probably had some experiences with him too, and I don't know if Jim you had, but I thought he was really fascinating, and he taught me a lot about mushrooms. And
Yeah, I'm just really grateful that we got to see him give that speech at that fundraiser, because it was so good. It was so big. I mean, he just
Yeah.
talked about how the world was changing and change was coming, and it felt very serious. And
Very
So,
ominous.
I saw him, and he was on a panel, part of the discussion from a fundraiser too, or it kind of it was a meeting at the university that was piggybacking off a larger.
it was at Rackham
uh,
Auditorium.
Yeah. So we're ready to play as an introduction to Q her video at Hash Bash.
Cool.
And
Awesome.
so let's see if we can get that queued up, and then see if we can get Q to come in.
Cue
And
that up.
part will
Cue
actually
Q
be
up.
Cue.
as planned. See if that happens. I'd be surprised.
If it didn't.
It's going to be so smooth.
There it goes.
It's already working.
Wow. Right into it.
Okay, so our next guest, our next speaker is Antoinette Marple. Everybody knows her as Q, of course. Many of us welcomed her into our homes for many years. She was.
It's really faint.
Fox News newscaster.
I can't hear it very well either.
For years, I felt like she was a friend of everybody that knew her.
Can you turn the volume up, Derek?
And so I actually screwed up. Annie's going to come on first, and then Q's going to come on.
Do you want to put the Annie video up?
Mister, you're not paying attention to the agenda? You did what?
Hey, Annie's joining us here, so be respectful and quiet.
So wait, do you want me to stop this video? Or?
No, we'll just play Annie's before Q. That's all. This is perfect.
Women who spent the last years getting us to this moment.
Just like how Julie had Ann Bannister on her, like.
I know. That was so funny. I was typing in. I'm like, this isn't Ann Bannister. This is
Why
not Ann
is that?
Bannister.
There's Annie setting up.
Annie.
Right after this this video with Q, Annie, we're gonna discuss with you.
Hey, just so you guys know, they can hear you out there.
I figured they could.
Well, you know, we're still
That's the
evolving.
beauty of it. That's the beauty of it.
Patients who are having issues such as mine, we're seeing results with cannabis, which would cost me about $100 a month if I went with an option like this, which is full extract cannabis oil. He couldn't tell me that even if that was too expensive, I could just grow it myself like this. This is Michigan grown hemp. I can make the extract myself. My doctor can't give me and patients like me all of their options. Cannabis education is still being censored in the medical community. We must end this, and we really have to put the medical back in medical marijuana. I treated my mother's diabetes and arthritis with cannabis, and it's working. Yet she, like her, elderly patients are terrified to tell their doctors, how is this healthcare? It's not. And we can't stop with cannabis. Legalization actually starts with cannabis. This magic mushroom also grows centuries. Researchers have been studying them for conditions like depression, Alzheimer's disease, and addiction for decades.
Preach, Q.
They remain illegal. Why? It is time for us to decriminalize nature. DNA2.org is working on that, so please consider joining and supporting their efforts. And finally, let's not forget that people are still in jail and in prison for nonviolent marijuana offenses, and those who are released live in the shadow of records that should have been expunged by now. Michigan lost a champion in the expungement fight with the death of Representative Isaac Robinson last month from coronavirus. We have to fill the void that he left and finally get expungement law passed in Michigan and across the country. So hey, let's celebrate today and let's get back at it tomorrow. You can always find me on social media at Channel Q, and I'm really looking forward to letting you guys know about something I'm unveiling on 420. So I hope to see you then, and until then, grab a puff, 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 don't pass, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Back to you guys, Hash Crew, and thank you so much for doing this. This is fun, and the parking is so much better.
Oh, that's so awesome, Q. Thank you.
I wish there was thunderous applause. You deserve it.
Woo!
That was one of the best presentations we saw all day long at the Hash Bash. She clearly had it scripted out. She thought about it ahead of time. She had her props. Awesome.
And of course, I played it, in the incorrect spot, but that was
course
because I
you
didn't
did.
look back at the list. But we have Annie's presentation also.
Jamie
but
did
we
it
actually,
on purpose.
No, I did not. But we actually
Yes, he
have
did.
her here, ready to go. And in part, we're going to continue the conversation of her great presentation, which we will see after we have this discussion with her. Mix it up a little bit on the fly, calling an audible. But anyway, without further ado, she's been on the show before, but first time by Zoom, and just participated in Hash Bash with us a couple of days ago. Ypsilanti City Council Representative Annie Somerville. Annie, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
working well.
I'm using my iPad, so I'm good. I'm good. I'm taking a break from work right now to do more work, but
nice. So we're gonna, I guess, talk about a couple different things. First of all, you had a very important message and based around social equity and some other things with with being a part of determining local policy for cannabis in Ypsilanti. And that kind of stuff, but also you just participated with us in the first ever digital Hash Bash, and we do have your segment coming up. I kind of meant to play that before guest, but it's part of our evolution here of getting all this stuff down a little bit better. The fact that we're even playing videos now is actually a step up from last week. So
Definitely.
In any case, I hope that you had fun participating in it, but I thought that was really cool that you were involved. And I know Jim was there. We had like Hash Bash committee meetings, and you were discussed early on as being a part of it for a lot of that work that you've done. So I'm glad that worked out, and we are going to show that presentation a little bit later. But how was it for you? How was you're familiar with Hash Bash, I assume.
Well, so I'm actually, that was my first Hash Bash.
Okay.
What? Yeah. No. I think people are probably shocked by that. Yeah, I just prior to my current full-time job with State Senator Jeff Irwin, I was a waitress. So I usually worked at the restaurant on Saturday mornings or afternoons rather during Hash Bash. So I got to wait on folks on their way back from Ann Arbor.
Okay, so you never went, but you were very aware of it. You were kind of
I've been aware of it, yes, right. But I've never attended myself, unfortunately. Well, I guess I did attend this year, so. Nice,
yeah. It was the first digital Hash Bash. It was what we had available to do under the circumstances, for sure. So it was okay. So we didn't mention before, and you brought it up. You are like the head of the staff for Senator Irwin's office.
Well, I currently oversee the constituent services in our office, but I'm actually transitioning into a new role as legislative director. Okay. So we're going through a little bit of some changes in our office, but we have a few other members on the team, and I've been primarily handling all of our constituent relations. But now I'm going to be moving into the legislative side of our office.
Very cool. So how is Ypsilanti doing in terms of cannabis activity? So it's one of the essential businesses. There are a few stores that are open, and curbside and delivery is going on. Is there anything noticeable with that? Is everything going smoothly as far as could be told from your position?
So from what I can tell on the medical side of things, current provisioning centers are still fully operating on the medical side. We have not yet permitted recreational sales. We have not issued our first permit yet. We should have, been basically done that already. COVID-19 has definitely halted a lot of things at City Hall. We have staff that are their primary role with recreational permits is actually going through, and while all of our current medical facilities will end up being issued a recreational facility, staff still has to go through and kind of weigh all of the applicants and release that information at the same time. So I'm working with them, trying to speed it up as much as possible. We did the governor with her extension of the non-essential services with the stay-home order, the city has actually extended ours too for staff. So staff won't be back in City Hall working fully as of right now until after May 3rd. So what I'm kind of doing behind the scenes is just trying to get the best information for them to use to try to speed that up. There's a lot of hesitation to issue 1 or 2 permits, but not everyone at the same time. And the part of the holdup is just that everybody can't be in the same room, and they need to be able to blindly look at applications to score them properly. And there's not a good way to do that virtually for all of them right now. So I'm having a lot of conversations behind the scenes with staff. I'm trying to get some additional information from the MRA in terms of timelines for folks who have already started the application process to make sure that applicants aren't punished basically for starting their application process over a month ago, and then the city being closed. So as many folks know, we have a small staff at the city. We're a very small city. So COVID really, really, really kind of took us for a totally different type of turn that we weren't prepared for. So I'm trying. I can't even give like a guess right now, but I know if the city opens after May 3rd, I know that we'll have stuff ready to go, but I'm hoping that we can make sure people aren't, that state folks who have already applied for state licenses, I'm working to make sure that we can confirm that they won't basically void their application.
Right. That's good. I know it's appreciated by a lot of people in the industry that from your position to be taking that perspective and working for it, and then even taking it further than really mandated. So I know that a lot of people really appreciate that you're in there representing that side of stuff.
Yeah, I hope, I hope I represent both my ward and the industry, well. It's definitely, it's an honor to be on city council. There are a lot of important details in ordinances, and I'm always trying to make sure that the fine print is the right language. And I think some of the hiccups that we've had with the application process have provided me with a few things that I think that council needs to go back and fix over the next couple of months when we're able to do that. So
right.
Andy, if we can switch from I'm sorry, Jamie.
No, go ahead, man.
If we can switch from an Ypsilanti focus to a Lansing focus, as a legislative liaison there for Senator Irwin, he advised everyone during his time on the Digital Hash Bash production to contact their senator, Judicial Committee, Senate Chairman, in order to make sure the expungement bills are moving. Can you give us
Senator
a little bit of
Lucido?
detail about where expungement's at right now in the legislature? And also, I know it's a two-parter, but the second thing is people are always complaining about the potential loss of the caregiver system. As someone who's inside Lansing as a professional, are you hearing any rumblings about that at all, that they're planning to mess with the caregiver system?
Great question.
So I'll answer the last one first because I'm not hearing anything about that, but it's always kind of in the back of my head. In terms of the expungement legislation, I think my boss is right in urging people to encourage Senator Lucido to make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks. Obviously, session has met very minimally since around the second week in March, but once we go back, I think it's important to make sure that we were originally going to have a hearing in March, so that was what the word on the street was, and then COVID happened. So I have heard from my boss that there's talk of having virtual hearings for some appropriation committees. So there's maybe a possibility that other committees will meet virtually to hold hearings. So I think everyone should definitely always use their voice to urge their representatives and the representatives that chair certain committees to make sure that they hold committee hearings on those specific pieces of legislation. But yes, I'm closely watching and waiting for the committee hearing on those bills to come up.
Well, Senate Judiciary has been a stop location for a lot of good ideas that came out of the House of Representatives in the past. Since we've been working legislature for the last 10 years, Senator Jones, and prior to him, was it Senator Wayne Kuipers was the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee back then? And wow, what a difficult time it was getting anything done there. I know that it's an extremely powerful committee, and now that the Republicans have control of both the House and the Senate, it's even more difficult to get things done as a Democrat. What are you guys doing in order to try and build those bridges to get positive things done for our people down in Lansing?
Yeah, well, I think in general, my boss is a good example of how to make sure that you can accomplish things with the Republican control of the legislature. He's constantly looking for ways to come to the table with Republicans on issues, especially with issues like criminal justice reform. There's a lot of really good work going on right now across party lines because I think people, are really, really aware of the way that the system isn't working for us. So I think like with expungement in particular, it's become a very popular issue in a lot of states that have legalized. And, there's enough support, on the other side to make sure that we can actually accomplish it. And the fact that Senator Lucido is already very supportive of it is helpful. So. Well,
but some of the bills for expungement were crafted by Republicans, and they're not really the best case scenario for what we'd hope for. And that was what Senator Irwin was talking about during the Hash Bash broadcast. I'm sorry, Andy, go ahead.
You mean like you're specifically like, for example, Senator Irwin's bill would have automatically expunged prior cannabis crimes. And the bill on the House side that is likely to get the hearing and likely to pass does not automatically do that. So yeah.
And at one point, I'm not sure if this has been fixed, it stated that it would be available to expunge for activity that was made legal by the MRTMA, but yet it really did not. There, in terms of people being able to possess, transfer it to other people, that type of thing. I'm not sure if I've heard that may have been addressed, but I'm not sure if that was ever fixed.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I haven't had that, a deep dive in the House bills and if there were any changes made in the committee process on the House side, they haven't come over to the Senate side yet. But my boss is right. I mean, there are pieces of the House bills that could absolutely be changed and, amended. So folks should reach out to their members of both, the House and the Senate still and recommend that they make those changes.
So I have a couple more questions for you, Annie, before we wrap this one up. One is, we have a couple representatives from Decriminalized Nature here, movement that's in Ann Arbor primarily right now. But from your perspective, how do you think the Ypsilanti City Council would receive similar presentation or entertain a similar idea for the city?
Well, I think that you would have one council person that would be super supportive. Probably two. There's at least two of us that could get that item on the agenda. But I don't know. I think that it could be done in Ypsi with the current makeup of council, with some persuasion. I don't know though. I think if you look at some of our council meetings, I had to fight pretty hard just to get social equity language included in our ordinance. In fact, I had to basically threaten and say, I'm not even going to vote to opt in unless this is in our ordinance. So sometimes it's interesting what people are willing to support. But I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in Ann Arbor. I know that I would be supportive as a council person in the city of Ypsilanti. I know that a lot of residents would be supportive of it, which is what's most important. I think if it was a ballot proposal, it would likely pass.
I was going to ask you next, but yeah.
Yeah. I think if you look at the numbers, I mean, if you look at the data from Proposal 1 in the breakdown of IPSI, and just knowing the community really well, I think it would be fairly similar if voters in the city had an option to say yes or no to that. But again, I don't know. I think the way that this all will play out in Ann Arbor will be interesting. But I know that there's at least 2 council people in the city of IPSI that would be supportive enough to get it on the agenda.
And we're asking everybody, you don't have to get too deep into this if not, but we're asking people's reaction to the planned protest tomorrow in Lansing in the form of a car gridlock around the Capitol for
against the governor for reaching too far with her stay-at-home orders and extending into the big box stores, not allowing people into the garden areas and stuff like that. Yeah, I think everybody has the right to protest. That's what democracy is. And I think if people disagree with the governor, that's obviously their right and their opinion. I can say for myself, not speaking for my boss's office, that I both support the governor, but I'm also just really, really grateful that she's leading our state right now. I had a conversation with one of my friends earlier this week, and I was just like, could you imagine if Bill Schuette was our governor right now? And I certainly can't. So, I think people, are upset because they don't like life being interrupted, which is sure valid. But I also think, I have relatives that work inside some of the hospitals that are primarily dealing with COVID patients right now in Michigan. And I'm hearing from them that, the news, like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that people aren't even hearing. And I'm getting the numbers of new cases and deaths every day. So, I think it's everyone's right as a citizen or a non-citizen to protest, but I certainly disagree. I seriously disagree with the people who are upset about the stay home order. I think I personally would like to see the governor go farther. I don't think fast food restaurants should be open. I don't think takeout should be open. I agree. If we really want to slow the spread and go back to semi-normal life sooner, that we really should only be relying on pharmacies, gas stations, grocery stores, and hospitals. And I think that the arguments that truck drivers need fast food, well, that's not true. People can pick up snacks and pack sandwiches and eat jerky. If astronauts can do it, we can do it. So I actually don't think the stay-home order goes far enough. And I wouldn't have fast food restaurants open. I think it's unsafe for the employees who aren't even getting paid a livable wage to risk their life so someone can have Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell. I haven't been to Taco Bell in over a month. I think that the orders don't go far enough at this point.
Cool. Okay. So is there anything else you'd like to leave us with before we wrap this up? And then we're going to, afterwards, just to let you know, we're going to play your presentation from Digital Hash Bash.
Awesome. Do you have any questions?
Planned exactly that way.
Yeah.
Well, if there's any updates to what's going on, I mean, it seems like things have kind of slowed down, but I know that you're thinking
there aren't really
on
any updates that I have because I haven't seen, council hasn't even seen the applications yet. But I'm really hoping that we see some licensed, some permitted social consumption sites in IPSI because I think that it is super important.
Yeah, that would be great. Take advantage of some of the other licenses. Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, we're gonna attempt to transition smoothly into your presentation from Hashbash, the segment that Rick put together earlier, and that's getting a lot of attention now too. And and then we'll come back with Anquinette Jameson. I'm sorry, Anquinette Sarfo. I apologize.
I see that we have City Council Representative Annie Somerville standing by. And it's important to hear from Annie that this attempted hash bash and emulating hash bash as much as possible is based around those who would have spoken here this, at the time, and some historical aspect and stuff. Not too many people here, but every year somebody does a few things that gets some notice that's very helpful with the community. And one of the things I really appreciate that Annie did is to expand on the social equity side of things in a local ordinance, beyond the mandates for the state. And that was very commendable. But without further ado, Ypsilanti City Council Representative Annie Somerville.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
You're good. Sounds good.
Hi, everyone. Coming at you live from Ypsilanti. As Jamie mentioned, last summer I had an opportunity to work on a social equity portion of our recreational marijuana ordinance. I became a member of City Council in Ypsi in June of last year. I knew that we were going to be opting into recreational marijuana, but I also knew that we had a job at making sure that we could tackle social equity at the local level. First I want to give a shout out to my council member colleague, Steve Wilcoxon, who worked on that with me. We worked really hard last year to get input from the community and other local folks who had been involved in the industry for quite some time, and he was very helpful on that. We were able to come to a conclusion that we wanted to set aside retailer permits for folks who qualify for the state social equity plan. And to do that, we aren't making those available until January of 2021. We wanted to make sure to level the playing field for folks who were left out of the medical industry. And to be specific, Black people and women were left out of the medical industry in terms of ownership. So that was one way at the local level I thought that we could be helpful in making sure that recreational businesses are more representative of our community. The other really important piece that I'm really proud of, I'm on City Council, I represent Ward 3, I'm a renter, and I believe that another piece of social equity is making sure that people are not further criminalized now that recreational marijuana is legal. And in order to do that, we need to allow people safe places to consume. And I fought really hard to make sure that the city of Ypsilanti allows social consumption facilities. And we haven't permitted those yet, but people did apply when our application time period was open this year. And I'm hopeful. Things are a little difficult right now because with the circumstances surrounding COVID-19, but I've been talking to city staff to make sure that if and when the city opens back up this month, we can start rolling on those applications. And it's really important to me that my fellow community members, especially people who are renters, have safe places to consume when we kind of start to go back to normal life. People often are concerned about public consumption or their neighbors in an apartment complex smoking. And I think by us allowing social consumption sites, we are going to really get rid of those worries and make sure that people are not further being prosecuted for cannabis consumption. I think that's all I have to share. I'm really glad to be a part of this. Our recreational marijuana ordinance isn't perfect, and I'm hopeful that we can fix some of the pieces that are not perfect, but I think it's a pretty good start in the city of Ypsi. And I hope that other local communities will look at our social equity policy, the other aspects of that, and really adopt some of those, especially the communities that never opted into medical. You have a blank canvas, and you can really, really, really utilize your power at the local level to make sure that adult use, recreational marijuana sales and business practices are equitable for all, but most importantly, Black people and women.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Annie. Really appreciate it. I'm glad that you're participating this year. That was some great stuff.
All right.
Annie, that was strong. That was a good presentation. That was good.
I said a lot.
You got the message across.
Nobody catches that.
Yep. Our format does not include perfection.
No, you ended on a strong note. We have to make sure we represent the people who've been underrepresented, specifically citing, African Americans and females. So it's a strong call to arms for the community.
Thanks.
So we go ahead, Annie. You saying something?
Oh no, I just said thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. But we do have Q is with us, Anquinette Sarfo. And we played her video a little bit earlier, as planned.
So strong.
I read it. I feel bad about that. But
and it was awesome, of course.
That was awesome.
Thank you, guys.
So how you doing, Q?
No complaints, but I do have to tell you guys, I have to give you a warning. So people have been hitting me up to make edibles, and so I always test the edibles before I give them. And oh man, I was in the car with Richard earlier, and I was like, oh man, I better wake up.
That's okay.
So,
you don't have to be running on all cylinders to be on this show.
Thank you. I don't know about that. Video lasts forever.
Well, we've enjoyed your hash bash presentation. It's been seen a bunch of times by people through the individual videos. Certainly you were bold to be able to talk about mushrooms the way that you did there. It was clear that you scripted it out too. You planned that in advance. I mean, this is something you embrace wholeheartedly, isn't it?
What, the mushrooms?
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing about the mushrooms. Actually, I was just thinking like, well, we have this momentum going, and so what's the next step? So if we've done this with cannabis and it's taken 50 plus years, if you guys have done this with cannabis and it's taken 50 plus years or longer, then it looks like maybe mushrooms and other types of plants are next. The crazy thing about mushrooms is that I don't feel them. Which is it's a bummer. I've seen people on mushrooms and it looks like fun, but yeah, every time I've tried mega doses and nothing. So I'm thinking obviously it's because I do have a neurological condition, so maybe that's it. Maybe I just need them. My body needs them for other things, and I can't. I don't need the psychedelic.
Do you experience benefit without the effect? Do you not positive about that? Okay.
I like portobellos and shiitake.
Sure.
But yeah, I've seen Richard on mushrooms, and I have not had that experience.
Well,
you haven't lived till you've seen Jamie, okay?
It doesn't take much for me either.
No. Well, the beautiful thing though is that you have a wide variety of different options, both cannabis, entheogenic species, a wide variety of things to be able to find what works best for your multiple sclerosis. We talked about your video being brave, but you were even more brave coming out about your cannabis use so recently after your departure from Fox News. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that must have been like?
Oh, sure. Well, where do I begin? I have to say that having multiple sclerosis really gave me a firsthand look at how the healthcare industry does not work for most people, and people need more options. And it was a real shame that when you have a disease like multiple sclerosis, you have a lot of people who make a decision if they're going to buy groceries or buy their medicine. And I mentioned that I was recently put on I was prescribed an anti-seizure medication, which is $1,200 a year. But the MS drugs are much more. I shouldn't say $1,200 a month.
Right.
Yeah. So, but the MS drugs are 10 times the cost of that, and it's just ridiculous. And so, what I found was that After being diagnosed with MS, I became someone who went from taking no drugs to taking 9 drugs. I was sicker. I was making these drug companies a lot of money. And if you're just looking for symptom relief, and that's what we're talking about, just plain symptom relief, well then, yeah, smoke a joint, you know? And so after the 3rd trip to the hospital, it's like, well, I'm just gonna, you know, smoke a joint, and it helped. And I just kind of felt it was just really hypocritical that, you know, people were in jail for it, and I could come home every day, and you know, I had a guy at the time, and I didn't have a card, and I could get, you know, cannabis, no problem, but people were going to jail for it, and you know, I was a part of that, being a part of the illegal system. And people need to know about, first of all, it really does help people. Second, it's helped me. Third, only certain people are going to jail for it. and and it's just easier to tell the truth. So yeah, you know, and you guys, I mean, I have to say, I really felt compelled after, you know, am I legalized, got the short end of the stick when it came to the ballot initiative. I just felt that that was so anti-democratic that that it just, more people needed to know about that. And then civil asset forfeiture, when people learn about civil asset forfeiture, you're just it was at the point where there were just too many things to just continue to be quiet about. So yeah, started there. So you guys, you guys all laid a fantastic, you know, framework and trail to just, you know, like, join the club. So thank you for being so welcoming, and definitely, you know, taking up the torch, and the journey, you know, long before, you know, I and a lot of people like me even knew what was going on. So
while you're so subject to suggestion, tell us what's going to happen on 420. Tell us what's going on 420.
I know. I don't know. I don't know. No, well, here's the thing, because this, as you know, as you guys are intimately aware, one day you have a deal and the next day you don't.
Yeah.
So it's and then you think you have a deal, and you're like, I'm not signing that. So
right.
yeah. So let's just say that, as you guys know, my heart is still in the bakery line, and I'm still trying to do it. And hopefully I'm closer to it. I do have a name. Maybe I'll announce that, because I did get it, you know, it's fine, it's trademarked, so hallelujah.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, it's
well, what's
nice.
the name?
Oh, Culture with a Q.
Culture with a Q. Perfect.
Nice.
I love that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Oh yeah. So
Well,
I figured, because, you know, people even though I thought botanic was easy, people said botanique, botanique. So I'm hoping.
What people, Jamie? What people?
I said it all. Yeah.
All the time.
I thought it was like that because your involvement specifically.
Right. So. Totally. Yeah. I just, yeah. So that's okay. So you know, it's really hard to try to get that Q into so many things. Maybe they don't Q everything.
No, that definitely works.
So yeah, so we're hoping with
Culture. Love it.
Yeah, so I have a team that I've pulled together, and now it's just looking for that last little finishing touch. So.
Well, what about podcasting, Anquinette? Have you discussed doing podcasting or having any kind of a regular broadcast? You're such a natural.
Who are you? My doctors?
You have your own channel. You have the ability.
Channel Q, right?
But you know, that's my social media handle. It's Channel Q. I'm Channel Q on social media. Here's the thing, and again, you guys are very familiar with this. Podcasting looks easy, but in fact, it's really, really hard. It takes a lot of planning, and it's a lot of work. And you know, both my neurologist and my neuropsychologist were like, you should do a podcast. And I don't know. I think about it a lot, but it takes a lot of work to make it good. And you have a great team. You know, you have you know, the cast that works well together. it's that's not easy. Chemistry isn't easy, and so I don't want to do it if it's not going to be good. And I have so many other things that are like sort of on my plate right now. I mean, I want to get this bakery line done. It took a lot longer to sell Botanic. We accepted the offer in June, and it was finalized in February.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was, there was a lot of stress there. I'm writing a book about it. um about that and just a bunch of other things too. So yeah, I'm writing a book. Yeah, and I'm on the board of directors of MICIA. So, trying to push the industry forward when I can. And yeah, okay, I will put podcasting on my list. Maybe maybe next year. I want a new house. I want to move.
We got other stuff to do, but you, of course, would be awesome. You're, just a great communicator. That's why you were so successful in the field for so long. And of course, all the attention that you earned over that time, that you used at times to get the word out about cannabis is still very much appreciated by this community. And your continuation of doing that is very helpful. And, I'm sure that if you decided to do that, if that was something that you thought you had enough time and would do something well with, it would be one of the really good ones.
Well, thank you. So, I mean, isn't it what would you say? I mean, it takes a lot to put these podcasts together.
Really easy. Everything goes smoothly. You don't even have to really think about it, especially digital hash bash.
Oh, no. You've got to laugh at stuff like that. The better. Yeah.
Oh, we captured a lot of great stuff, including your presentation. And part of that story is it was kind of, the platform was set up as like a hugely expanded, Skype Planet Green Trees broadcast.
Yeah.
And so there was the idea that, hey, maybe we might be interviewing people when they come on, but we also wanted to emulate Hash Bash and just give people the time and let them say what they wanted to say, similar to the real event. So you did have to kind of choose. You were thinking that maybe we might do like an interview type thing. And then you're like, okay, you want to do it like this. So you then had to like kind of put that together, and it turned out to be great.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't want to be the you guys are very kind. I didn't want to be the diva, but thank God Debra, texted me and she was like, hey, so
we did end up kind of interviewing a few people. There were some people that didn't realize that they were supposed to spout off.
Yeah, I
for a
just
few
wanted
minutes,
to know how did you want to be introduced? And she's like, speech. What do you mean speech? I'm like, well, good thing I texted you.
Oh man, let me write some words down this morning.
Well, Anquinette, you going off the cuff is better than most people's pre-written speeches anyway. So.
Oh yeah.
But nobody likes a surprise. Nobody. I've been really weird, awkward silence as we waited for everybody to figure out what was going on. So
a lot of people. There's a lot of things that came together to kind of derail that scenario, but we ended up capturing almost everybody who was planned on being on there. Went over by a couple hours, but and now Rick's putting them out in these shorter segments, and people, they're getting even more reach now, so it's all good.
It was pretty funny being in the virtual green room and all the people who were not familiar with the technology.
That was part of the slowdown too.
It was all men. Did you see that? It was all old men, and all their wives were helping them in the background.
That's
hilarious.
True. That's true.
It's so funny.
It's true. Watching them figure it out.
I know. The old ladies knew how to do it. The old men could not figure it out.
They were going to make the sandwich.
And you're surprised about this?
But now come back.
Come on. That's been like the subject of every sitcom for 25 years, right? Guys are all dumb and women have to bail us out all the time. What do you say?
That's right.
That was a common theme, though, that day for sure. The unmuting the mics, getting the camera positions, figuring out how to sign in the first place, probably.
If there's not
that was part of it.
difficulties, it's not a good show.
I love it.
I'm still very happy that it went down, though.
You gotta hit unmute, D.
We got Daryl Stavros in the house too now. What do you know?
Well, we're going to introduce him properly and all that kind of stuff. He's just coming in before his segment. So he can sit there quietly and patiently as we continue to talk to Q.
Well, he can learn from our professionalism.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
Anquinette, how can people get in touch with you? How can people that want to follow you do a better job than just watching our show and hoping you appear?
Oh, up like Facebook. I mean, I know I should be on Instagram, and I don't even know what TikTok is. This Snapchat. I've never seen Snapchat. So yeah, I'm still old school. Yeah, just Facebook. You know.
Channel Q.
Channel Q. Yep. Or if you start to Google my name, if you put in A and Q, I think it even comes up.
I bet it does.
So
I'm sure it does.
And so
Don't
Q,
try to
we've
spell my name. Just do something close to it.
hey, we've asked everybody else. So before we go, do you have any thoughts on the proposed protest tomorrow by people who are upset with the governor for, in their minds, overreaching on the shutdown, the ability for the big stores to have their garden centers and paint centers open?
Isn't Home Depot? I mean, I went to Home Depot a couple of weeks ago. I mean, Home Depot is open, right? So let me answer your question. I think it's ridiculous, and I have to wonder if there's a bit of misogyny attached to it. Just like how Trump can't call Whitmer by her name, she's that woman. How Mary Barra was, come on, GM, get it together. And now there's this thing about Gretchen Whitmer. And don't get me wrong, I have not agreed with Governor Whitmer on some things. I think that she was wrong on the vape ban, for example, but I don't think that she's sitting, in her bed at night going, "Oh my gosh, how can I ruin various industries?" I really think that she is concerned about hospitals being overwhelmed and people dying in the hallways and in the ERs, and just nurses dying on their couches, like what has happened. I think that, or nurses walking out because they're overwhelmed and they can't take it anymore. I really, and then that's what's happening in urban communities. It's going to start happening in rural communities. I think that she is really doing this because she recognizes that we have a here. Think about this too. When they were figuring out which cities to divert these planes, Detroit was one of the cities. So at the very beginning of this crisis, we were a designated intake center for people with COVID-19. So how do you not expect some of that to get out? You do. So I feel that it's a shame that that even in this time, where people of all political persuasions are dropping dead, that we can just put it aside and be like, okay, you know what? Stay home. As you guys, well, maybe you guys don't know, but I was in Germany at the end of February and the beginning of March, and I was incredibly sick. I thought I had it. I was tested and I did not. I had something else that was bad. But I've left my house. I've gone to Home Depot, and beyond that, and I went to a dispensary today because I'm still working on edibles. Yeah, it's 7 weeks and counting since I've been out, and you know what? I'll live. It's not like I'm in solitary confinement. It's not like please stop saying it's like being in prison. Come on.
I mean, come on, really.
Prison with
You've got
Netflix.
Everything you need, exactly.
I have Netflix. I have Hulu.
Exactly. Food, entertainment, cannabis, everything you want.
Exactly.
The internet, books, music, whatever you want.
Hot water for showers.
You can buy some seedy stuff from a place that will deliver, and then just grow your own at this point.
Of course. Oh my goodness gracious! Come on.
I don't get why people are so. It's ridiculous. Of all the things you can protest, I mean, the roads are still crappy, but no, to protest this is suspect.
Well, hopefully it'll fizzle out like the big protest was going to be on Hash Bash. Remember, everybody was going to assemble in regard, and then everybody one by one, their wives told them they couldn't go, so they had to stay home.
Exactly.
Hopefully that'll happen this time too.
Right. Totally.
Hey, anything to leave us with, Q, as we wrap up?
Oh no! Thank you as always for having me on. Keep on keeping on. Look for culture on a dispensary shelf.
For sure.
For sure.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys, and hey, thank you for always being so informative and entertaining.
Thank you. Yay, Q. Great
Love you,
segment.
bye.
See ya.
See ya.
That
So
was wonderful.
yeah,
She's
we're
the
ready.
greatest, you guys. Seriously, she is the greatest. I'm sorry, but I have to say she's the greatest. We love her.
Well, no question. We can spend some time saying how she's great.
Let's all talk about how
Tell
great she
Richard
is.
we said hi too.
Tell Richard.
Yeah, hi
Tell
Richard.
Jamie's wearing a cravat. Tell
He
Richard
is.
Jamie was wearing
He
a
is.
cravat during the broadcast.
Richard's a stylish dude.
I know he would
be
have
very
appreciative
appreciative of
of
that.
saying.
Well, and Ray's wearing a dickie. Ray's wearing a dickie. That's
I
what
don't
I
even know
heard.
what is the cravat.
Sure, Jay.
like Thurston Howell the third, for example. You know, there's a certain class.
Like an ascot, right? Like an ascot.
I don't like calling it that, but I guess that might be one way.
Oh,
An ascot, right?
Here's
Ascot, right?
here's Richard.
I know, Ray.
Yeah.
He's playing the bong, it looks like. Yeah.
Look at him, right?
Playing the bong.
Some game.
Now a musical interview for Richard.
You're a good musician, man.
I'm gonna show all of it.
Nice.
Yes.
See you later.
That's wonderful. Bye.
So I think if everything worked out right, we should have
Great.
Daryl with us. Is he on here?
He's here.
Yes,
I'm
I see
looking
him
right
right
at
there.
him.
Been
Yeah.
here for a while.
You're killing
Daryl has
it. You guys
never
are
worn an
killing it.
ascot. I can tell you that. No cravats.
Daryl
no
does not.
ascot
Yeah,
for
he's
Daryl.
not wearing no
He's
damn
on
ascot.
specifically to support my wearing of the cravat. That's the point of him being on. But
He's part of your cravat support group.
yeah,
Because if you wear one, you
yeah,
need
the
to
cravat
support
community
her.
doesn't appreciate
Yeah.
being treated like this right now, especially
And
during
all
this
your
time.
meetings got canceled. You guys are having to have your cravat support group meetings over Zoom now.
It's on Zoom, right? Very few people
Yeah.
can
Send
figure it out.
Thurston
That's
Howell
good.
the third over to complain.
But who?
So,
So
yeah,
Fred
so
from the
there is
Fred
go
from the
ahead.
Mystery Machine. Yeah.
So there is some good news in this mix for sure, and I don't know, and Daryl for sure. Annie Somerville is on or was on with us just a little bit ago, talking about Ypsilanti and other things too. It's a little difficult. I think maybe we should pay some tribute to this later on, but there's the end of an era taking place in Third Coast in Ypsilanti. First dispensary, first to work transparently with local government, get a license, started by Daryl, myself, and a few other people, is no longer. It has transitioned into something new, and Daryl's still involved. But it is now Oz Cannabis. Harper Ventures and Cured Leaf working with Daryl to create Oz, and that is now up and running and doing curbside and delivery, I think, in Ypsilanti. I'm not sure about deliveries up and running yet, but I know that it's at least doing it's open and doing curbside for medical.
Wow.
And so I'm really happy that it continues on. Really happy that Daryl's involvement is there. I'm a little bummed out that Third Coast is officially a thing of the past. Daryl, are you there? With an unmuted mic and able to talk to us?
He's frozen.
No,
Nope, there he goes. He's moving.
Daryl.
Speak.
Hey,
I
Daryl, I
think
was kind of
you're
setting you up to join in on this conversation a little bit. Are you there? Can you hear me?
On the music.
I hope he realizes his camera's on because he might do
Daryl, you got to
weird.
unmute your mic, man. It's all right, common thing. Got to unmute your mic. Got to find the.
Most men over 45 can't get their mic unmuted on the first try.
Top left corner.
You got to tap on your mic.
Tap on your mic gently.
Yeah, turn the video down a little bit and start tapping on your mic.
Is there a female in the in the room who can get you in there?
Do you want me?
Is
Do you
there a
want me
lady
to
who
remote
knows what
looking
to
at
do?
you this whole
Right
time.
here
It's hilarious.
on the screen with your mouse, like right here.
With your mouse. Tap your mouse on the screen.
Bottom left
The
corner.
toolbar on the bottom has got an icon that looks like
Says
a mic. You have to
mute.
tap on.
Bottom left corner. I feel like we're watching a recording of something.
Almost. He's going through all the different things. You'll get
This
there.
is like trying to talk down an airplane being flown by one of the passengers.
He's got the distinction of being exactly like our discussion with Tommy Chong the first time he came on
All
Digital
right,
Hash Rate.
Daryl, just relax, take deep breaths. Okay, we're going to help you through this. Everybody just calm down. We've all been there, you know. We believe in you.
Go to your Go
That's
to
a
your.
really
I know
big
it's
head.
scary.
When you get that close to the screen, it's kind of scary.
You might have to go into the mic settings because if he has the
Ooh,
like
advanced
iPhone
settings.
thing in, you want to change codec to like iPhone or something.
It
Hey,
might
can
not
I
be
run
that
an old
involved.
video? Let me run an old video of Daryl in the meantime.
Got an old video, Daryl?
Yeah.
Do you? All right.
Don't we have a Daryl hologram we can use?
Daryl, figure out your mic. And in the meantime, we're going to play a video that features you.
I have a Daryl puppet in my car. Is that weird?
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Yes.
That is weird.
All right. I remember this.
Day-to-day operations. All right, I'm Jamie Lowell. One of the partners.
I'm Jamie Lowell.
Look at the young Jamie there. Nice.
Oh, shit.
Nice haircut.
That is a nice,
Total
nice
classic.
bang, Steve.
Yeah, that's 10 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Really sick people who have cancer.
Look how young he doesn't look.
Well, where's Daryl?
I mean,
He started it off, actually.
Okay.
can get their medicine. You know, we've been able to supply.
Oh, there you go.
With medicine from raw bud to clones to medibles, and medibles are your cooked goods, and also topical.
Look at him in his sport coat.
No report value. It's not going to get you high. There are things that you know, some patients are concerned about that, and they want something that's going to work for their condition, whether it's Crohn's disease or anything else. They need something that's going to use, you know, without getting them to where they can't function.
Put together a blend that's a blend of herbs and an olive oil base off directly to the endocannabinoid system, and there's been some astonishing things that have been going on around in many locations. People talking about cancer, skin cancers going away. Crohn's disease seems to be no problem at all for this stuff. Rheumatoid arthritis, to get people having this stuff put on their knees and going out dancing backwards. Just astounding, phenomenal.
Gersh.
Growing new industry in Michigan. Place that's desperate for growth, new industry, and new jobs. We can accomplish so many things with one great plant. Economic growth that helps skill.
Yeah, good hit.
That every city should grab hold of.
Medical marijuana decrease through something
Oh,
else.
Charmy.
Alarm.
You will still maintain a black market.
You know, if you're hearing this, if you got somebody.
Yeah, that was nostalgic.
All right.
Daryl, did we get it?
Maybe he's trying to download it on his phone.
Yeah, D, get it on your phone.
Or he's placing his sports bet. I don't know, one or the other. Yep, yeah. Swipe left.
I'll tell you
Daryl,
what.
Swipe left.
I'll tell you what. While Daryl's doing that, let me read the
It is
abstract.
Apple iPhone popping up on my screen.
I put that up because I think that was him trying to come in from another device.
Not yet.
There's
There he is. There's
There he
Daryl.
is.
I just heard you.
Hey, Daryl.
D-man.
He might be audio on his phone, but video on his
I'm
computer.
trying. No,
Nice.
It's working, man.
no, look. So we can see you and hear you, Daryl. Keep going, buddy. Good.
Oh, yeah, I got it all now.
Let me read the abstract.
Just turn our volume kind of down.
We got the Daryl.
There's an
Here, it
echo.
works, man.
There's big echoes again.
Oh, can't hear you now. I think we were hearing I think the audio was coming through your phone and the video was coming through your computer.
Yeah, for sure.
Supposed to be,
So now you gotta figure out how either
Back
come
up.
back on. There you go.
Figure that shit out.
Come
Daryl
back
says-
on or unmute your computer.
Jamie is awesome. This is Daryl's voice. Jamie is the best.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what
I'm-
he's saying.
Yeah, no.
Turn the audio back up a little bit on your phone.
Wow. But it's exciting to know
I hear
that
you, Colin.
even though Third Coast may have not, is no longer in name, but the facility maintains, the same management team maintains. So the patients that have been used to getting their medicine there for years, for almost a decade or more than a decade now, can actually continue to utilize that same space.
Yeah, it's a cool building too.
Yeah.
And can I just
Location.
clarify? That is the first. dispensary in the state of Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just
And
yeah.
definitely, I mean, for sure,
That
working
was
transparently
real
with local government, if you want to take it there, because there was some activity going on early on also. Of course, Jeremy Rupinski and Ramona Rupinski and
Yeah.
in Genesee County with GC3, and there was Roger and
Three.
in the Jackson area, and there's some stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Third Coast is just a couple blocks from my house. So I remember a long time ago when I first met Jamie, I think you were with Passerini. We were going out to dinner. I don't know where we were hanging out. And Mark said, I can't believe you don't know Jamie yet. He had the first dispensary. It's right near your house. And Jamie's like, yeah, I'm kind of a big deal.
He said that?
No.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like me.
Oh, he always tags me.
You were just fucking with me. You were
Yeah, I
like,
was doing
I'm
it.
kind
You
of
caught
a
me
big
right when I
deal.
was doing an impersonation of Rick.
No.
That's
Oh, so
great.
guilty,
I
so
love
guilty,
that.
dude. Oh, thank you, Shelly. That was worth the whole 2-hour broadcast right
Yes,
there.
it was.
Daryl's gonna get this. Come on, man.
The first time I saw Jamie was actually with Daryl in the front page of a newspaper talking about the first dispensary in Michigan.
Ooh.
And I remember that. That was pretty cool. I think the title, the headline said "Got Pot" or something like that.
Did you have like a pot mustache, like in the milk?
That would have been perfect. Like
That
just a
would have been
green,
good.
fuzzy, bushy
Yeah.
mustache.
Yeah.
First
should
time I met
reenact
you
it.
guys, I came down to Third Coast to do an interview with Anthony for the Michigan Medical Marijuana Magazine. I met both Daryl and Jamie. Anthony was set up in an office where he had a desk and a camera pointed right at his chair. It was clear the camera could be used for nothing other than recording just him. But it was an interesting thing. And I was able to wander the halls afterwards. Kirk Reed was down there with a paint roller, rolling paint on the side of the walls, and a couple of other notables were floating around. Doug Orton, I don't know if Doug was there, but it was
I met Ray there.
very
there.
early. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
I got
It was
to
a
know
whole-
Sharmy there. Sharmy didn't work there, did she? She just kind of hung out there, or she worked for the lab. I feel
She
like
had an
I hung
office
out with
upstairs.
Sharmy there.
He had an office
Yeah,
upstairs.
And did the
Sharmy there.
cultivator, the Midwest
Midwest.
cultivator from up there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gersh, who we saw earlier in the video, would come in and early on anyway and work a lot in there and make oil and
Yeah.
talk to people and
His
stuff like
American friend Nathan, was it?
Wow.
Nathan's awesome.
Nathan
memories.
went on to be the guy that confronted that
Ours,
young
that
little
was
MAGA guy in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Jeez.
He just
Young
calmly
little
kept
rabbit guy.
playing.
Oh boy.
Daryl, are you with us on audio yet, buddy?
I think if he would, he'd already be speaking.
Daryl, shout at us, buddy.
I'm gonna see if we can get that combination going of his phone and the computer again.
We still believe in you. We're cheering you on like crazy over here.
You have the forehead of destiny, sir. Continue to lean forward.
Doesn't have the screen with all the video on it and stuff like that. He's got another screen that I've seen before, and when that's happened, another pop-up comes down to, I think it was what Colin was talking about, where you select.
Yeah, you select like they're like mute, or sometimes
Yeah,
you have
'cause
to
it
go
shows
into
it as-
settings though of like your computer.
All right, guys. I
And
think
Wait, there he goes.
got it.
I saw the microphone on mute. It was
just-
awesome.
You guys know. Just so you guys know, there was something in the bottom left that was
Yes.
downloaded, and I had to click that to open the screen.
Oh, well, now
Point
you know.
problems. I know,
Yeah,
man.
you can never fuck up again. Now you know.
Yep.
So, Daryl, we were giving you all kinds of praise and things like that, but explain how Oz came about from the Third Coast.
All kinds of praise.
A lot of people, he heard it, I think. A lot of people were talking about how they first met us and stuff like that. You there, man?
So I do have a big delay.
Okay.
Wow.
Wonder why that is.
So
That's
it's a
what
really
she
big
said.
delay.
Are you watching
you
it on
in a-
Facebook instead of being on Zoom
Are
with
you in a
us?
Hold
different
on.
time
Let me see.
zone?
Yeah, the Facebook Live's got the delay.
He's in Wahoo, China, or whatever the name of that
Are
is.
you listening to us at the same time as we're talking?
Wuhan. He's in Wuhan.
All right.
He is.
Now I'm here. Hold on.
All right.
Oh, you sound perfect.
Now your
a
words
few
match
minutes
your
left.
lips.
Now I just got to switch back to where I can see you.
No,
But at
don't
least I
touch
have no
anything.
echo now.
Perfect.
So I can't see anything, but I have no echo.
But we
Just describe your face.
we can see you fine, actually, man.
What are you wearing?
We can see you, man.
See
It's all
you
right.
though. I can see
Yeah,
you.
we can totally see you.
So don't get weird.
Well,
'cause we
that's
can
good.
see
That's
you.
good to know.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. I think I found it.
Feel free
All right.
being
Now
naked.
I'm
We
here.
can't
All
see
right.
you.
Now I can see everything too.
All right.
Wow.
Yay! Applaud for me.
This was one of the
Fantastic.
reasons why we didn't
2020.
click on exact perfect timing for digital hash bash either.
Yeah.
A lot of people had to figure stuff out on the fly. We even had some people practice a few days before, and it's
Who's
still
blocking stuff over here?
wasn't
Ray, you got
perfect.
something blocking the camera. What the hell is that? Your McDonald's
Did it
bag
on
or something?
purpose. He arranged them carefully just so he
Oh,
could have.
I see a tent.
Hey, so anyway, now that you're on, we kind of talked about the end of an era, Third Coast, and the beginning of Oz. And,
Yeah. So
want to address that.
I did. Yeah, I heard everything you said, and I saw the nice video of me in a suit. That was the last time I was wearing a suit. Other than a funeral I went to, but anyhow, yeah. So we've somewhat passed the torch, but we're still a lot involved. So we still got our same staff there. We're adding a lot of new people. We reopened on Friday, and we're with no advertising. We're doing great. So we're just starting to do weed maps. We're just starting to do emails, text messages. You know, being closed for 6 months is tough for any business.
Wow.
And to reopen after that 6 months it was tough. And we did a lot of renovations. We did things to make things look nice. And then we reopened to curbside only.
Oh my God.
And no one could see what we've done.
Is delivery coming, or are you choosing
Yes,
not to get it?
delivery is coming. We've had a couple people that we've been trying to get for delivery drivers. It just, no one wants to go on record. And you know how it is. People want to
I'll
get
send
paid under
people
the
your
table.
way. I have friends regularly asking for
Okay.
jobs.
Well,
I'll point them your way for sure.
Definitely. Because
Okay.
most people just want to get paid under the table. We can't do that. Those days are
Right.
gone now. And it kind of,
Oh no, I'll send you some folks for sure.
perfect. I appreciate it, Shelly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're open now 9 to 9 every day. We even open for 4 hours on Easter. I know it might sound sacrilegious, but we had quite a few people come in.
Not everybody's
Yes, I'm
practicing
really
Christians
offended by that.
who
Yeah.
uses cannabis, and even some of those who are, I'm sure, appreciate the fact that there was availability.
It was
on
a
that
new
day.
sacrament for everyone. You
There
know,
you go.
Yeah, it was a sacrament. That's right.
you definitely were. Something was rising after you smoked it.
Oh, you felt resurrected. Resurrected.
But really, what Jamie's talking about is Oz Cannabis. It's a whole new name, like no one's had it. This is something that we kind of came up as a group, and there's a couple shops with Harper Ventures, like Jamie talked about. This is a group out of Royal Oak that I became pretty close with. Really nice guys. They know their stuff. They are good business guys, and they wanted to get into this, so I kind of helped them into it. We opened one up in Traverse City called the Cured Leaf back in December, which was the first dispensary reopened up there since everything was closed down for 2 years. So it was nice to get back up there because Jamie and I actually opened a dispensary up there, kind of an offshoot of Third Coast, called Traverse City Compassion Center.
And we had the M22 collective too for a part of that for a while.
And the
too.
M22, correct. So it was kind of good to be back up there and get things back open. And they've done real well, and that was the Cured Leaf. Well, now the Cured Leaf's going to change names to Oz Cannabis. We also are bringing on the Green Mile, which is on 8 Mile. So they're going to probably end up changing names too. And the goal is to try to get this consortium of groups together, almost so you get better buying power and you get a better group purchasing. And this group also has a 427,000 square foot facility in Warren that's going to get up online for grow and processing. So we'll be able to supply these groups, and I'll be setting up a personal grow inside that one too. So it's kind of, they're giving us more product lines. They're allowing us to put our brands out there that we wanted to do. So it's a good marriage. Like I said, we're still involved. We're still there. We're going to be starting to bring hopefully Boston George back, which he's been in Cape Cod for a while. but we're going to start his cannabis line up pretty soon. Hopefully, we'll
were
get the
just talking
Wu-Tang
about him.
Clan back.
Yep.
You know, we're going to start getting these product lines that we just started to do before licensing. And then it's taken this whole long process to get licensed. And now we got to bring these brands back in and get them back to the market. And that's kind of going to be my
Are their
goal.
shops Oz themed?
Not yet. This was literally the name Oz Cannabis came up like a month ago.
And there's no secret that OZ also stands for ounce.
You got it.
Which
And that's kind of
ties
what
it in
the
a little
play
bit.
was.
Right.
Was all that. And of course, Adam Brook has already volunteered to be the wizard behind the curtain.
I'm sure.
So if we can get a costume for him, I don't know. When we do a grand
Adam volunteered
Shouldn't
to
be
be the
hard.
wizard.
Christine's probably got one, Jamie.
Maybe
You'll
you
have
should
to
maybe you should
disinfect
have
that
him
curtain.
maybe you should have him stand out front like those Uncle Sam's on tax day, but he's dressed like a Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
I love that.
that'd be awesome.
The problem
Bounce
is, you know,
around out
Adam can't stand for long periods of time.
We'll give him a chair. He can just sit out by
Give him
the
give him a
curb.
throne.
There you go. And
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
Jamie, can we use one of your dogs for Toto?
Sure.
Yeah, it was Zito. It was perfect.
Wow. That's a tough
Obviously,
bullet to
that
make
means
dog
by
work.
extension that I have to be Dorothy.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Why would
not
you
going to
choose
be
a
a stretch
female?
either.
At your
I'm
request.
sure.
You know, in
Christine has a
Shakespeare's
wig
day,
for that.
all the female roles were played by men. It's not a big deal.
That's right.
And I'm looking
That was
forward to
hundreds
the
of years ago,
challenge.
bro.
You should have the barking dog be with you. It's more
Sherman.
suiting.
Barking
Just yell at
dog.
everything. He just yells at everybody and everything.
Well,
And
similar
then
to
we'll get
Adam.
some sympathy for the third leg, you know, only three-legged dog. That's perfect.
No, it's
You could be the Tin Man. That would be fun.
So, Daryl, when it comes to Third Coast, obviously you're continuing forward, and Third Coast kind of becomes part of the history books. Talk about a couple of significant moments in Third Coast history. Let's roll back memory lane and celebrate. You've got you and Jamie.
And let's also understand that we should do something bigger and more formal at some point about this, because this really was a big deal. And
It was.
Yeah, I
You know?
agree. I mean, one of my first memories actually is, you know, when we started this, we took a picture, and it was Jamie and I think only, for some reason, on the front steps. And that's when all these newspaper articles started popping in. And they all said, got pot. And, you know, they said first cannabis dispensary open where you get your marijuana, all that crap. Everybody did the same kind of article they ran. But I was teaching at Eastern Michigan University at the time. And I walk into a lecture hall, one of the stadium type ones. And I grabbed the Eastern Echo like I always do before I go up. And I'm looking at the front page of the Eastern Echo. And it's a picture of me and Jamie. And it says, got pot. And I'm like, God, it's all be open now.
Great.
So I literally
Students
walk
recite.
in front of class. I sit there, show the paper, and I'm like, yes, this is me. And it's an instant standing ovation. Oh,
College kids like cannabis? I never
yeah,
heard
it's
that.
weird. I don't know.
That's
It's strange.
amazing.
Strange. And then, you know, I was also the head of the soccer program in Saline. I made the front page of that. And so it was like,
Go Hornets.
pictures were coming up from everywhere at that time.
Yep. When we did open Big Daddy's in Oak Park, we were the first one in Oakland County, and that was a huge deal. Oakland County being so negative. We got a lot of positive, and we also get a lot of pressure, a lot of negative front too. So I know it's
The weird thing with Third Coast is we never had any negative.
yeah.
Like we never really had any backlash.
Those first
City-
stories were like commercials almost for
They
us.
were. They
Yeah.
were. They were all
When Channel 2
advertising.
came by, they're like, it's legal now where you're supposed to get your pot. Oh, here, Third Coast is opening up in Ypsilanti. It was like a commercial.
It's wonderful. So
Go down 94, you get off here at the right.
And then shortly after that, we had that caregiver cup at the Marriott, which was, you know, that big expo that we did. And Roop Raj was there from Fox 2, I think he's from.
I think
Yep.
he's from 4.
So he was, I remember doing an
No,
interview.
he's from Fox 2. He's from Fox 2 with Q.
Perfect.
He was
yeah,
cool about it.
That was my first interview I've ever done for cannabis was with him.
He's a little straight-laced, but he's okay.
Yeah, he was a lot.
Maruga did some music for us downtown for that.
Yeah.
Damn, Rick, get it in, dog.
Yeah.
So-
So I remember that very clearly. You guys ran buses back and forth in order to take people from the location to Third Coast. We're very accommodating for patients. You wanted to make sure that everybody that was ill would be able to get there even if they were not able to drive. It was quite cool, man.
They bought,
it was set
everybody
up.
lunch. They gave away bongs on the bus.
Yeah.
Hey, one of those parts of that story was a 5,000 square foot tent that, for a lot of weddings and stuff, they allow people to smoke in it. Didn't really care too much. But the fire marshal did an extra little scrutiny for our program and said, you can't have people smoking in here. So we purchased, I'm going to say it was like 40 or 50 vaporizers from a store in Toledo. Puff Danny helped us out with that whole situation. He's so connected in that area. And it turned out to be I'm not sure if the record's ever been broken, but it was the largest vape tent area at that time anyway, 5,000 square feet.
And one of the coolest things of that is the fire chief was so intrigued by these devices that during the show, he was in there with his uniform on. And anytime someone said, how do you use one of these things? He'd walk up and show them, these things are great. And he's like showing them how to use it. This is how it does. It only gets up to
Those are the old school whips and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. He knew more about it than I did.
Well, and of course, the big deal for the fire guys is no open flame. And for electric vaporizers where everything is controlled, for them, that must be an ideal solution, a win-win for the fire guy.
For sure. And the funny part is they wouldn't allow smoking in the tent, but they allowed Puff Danny to blow glass in the ballroom.
I know.
That's because America is logical.
Yeah, it's always been weird. It's always been weird, but
drug war.
Hey,
we're drug war.
We're homing in on the end of the show. Anything else you got, Daryl? Daryl, of course, we'll have you back on, and of course, when we can, we will do something more formal in recognition of the decade of Third Coast.
Well, I do want to shout out
celebration.
I know Annie's not back on. She might be on watching, but I want to thank Annie. I mean, we're so lucky in Ypsilanti to have someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other cities would drool over someone like that working for them. She's been a great pioneer for us here in Ypsilanti, and we just continue success with her, we hope.
Yeah, we
Daryl,
talked
Bobby
about
West
that with her.
is watching.
All right.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
And then resume squash offs too at some point when gatherings can happen again.
Yep. We've also got Jennifer Lee. We got John Schlicker. We got Colleen Keys. Steve Lovinger.
Canapalooza.
Jennifer, you.
Yeah.
And we have a Canapalooza video we can get in next week for those guys too. That was on Hash Bash, and maybe get John on too.
John Schlicker.
Go ahead, Derek. Sorry.
I wanted to say happy birthday to Colleen Keys. She's
for sure.
Happy birthday.
Thanks to everyone for listening.
Hey, so we it was not perfect, but we upped the game a little bit with showing some videos. We didn't get the economic impact discussion in, but suffice it to say that the projections, and this is a Michigan State University economic study, are higher than what was originally being discussed and pitched when we were trying to get legalization in the first place. Just like in other states, the projections were a little low. So there should be a lot of activity, and it takes into consideration all current conditions and everything too. And there's still some big numbers coming up.
Was that 560 million, Jamie, projected with the combination of sales
tax revenue, stuff like that? Yeah, for tax revenue. Yeah, they're 7.8 billion in excess of 7.8 billion. All the economic impact, all the ancillary businesses and the core industry and all that kind of stuff itself, and a lot of jobs. Or 495.7 million according to this one. Of which 298 is excise. Yep. So there's some good numbers. We can talk about this more maybe on Planet Green Trees and maybe next week too, but wanted to get that in. That was some new information, and it is promising even under the circumstances. It takes into consideration the inventory not being as readily available as it will be in the future in a lot of the cities and towns that don't allow it yet and all that kind of stuff. So
That's great.
Anyway,
Thousands of jobs.
Hey, it is 6:00 and we're not under such strict parameters as we are when we broadcast from Cave Radio, which hopefully we'll get back together with Cave under certain circumstances at some point, but keep up the video for sure from now on. I think this is our second time around. Wasn't perfect, but we added to it by showing videos. We'll shape it up a little bit. Everybody was on successfully today. I think it went pretty well. We'll take a look at it again, see what we can shore up for the future. But thanks everybody. Thanks Daryl for coming on. Of course, thanks to Annie and Q for being great guests and going over Hash Bash. We're going to continue that idea too and get a lot of the people who are involved in there. Thanks Shelly with Weeds and Reeds, another of the great shows that complements the Cannabis Community Podcast. And of course, she's with ASQ, Michigan Cannabis Industry Association. thanks Jim for joining us lately and offering up some great input here. Colin, of course. And
Shelly for not crashing her car while she was participating in the show. Thank you for that.
It was just like a conference call. It was totally safe, totally fine.
Nice.
It all worked out.
Next Saturday
Until
at 10 o'clock,
someone dies.
you can watch my Facebook page. I'll be dropping videos from the Hash Bash every 15 minutes like I did last Saturday.
Yep.
We'll probably go till 12:30 or more, including maybe some commercials that we're supposed to play that didn't get played.
That'd be good
during
too.
Hash Bash. It's going to be great.
And more of those will be on this show too, and we'll feature a lot of the people that were involved, and we'll still reflect on that for a while. There was a lot of stuff there to go through, and that'll be part of our show for the next few weeks, as far as I can tell. So we also had Debra. Thanks a lot, Debra, once again, and Rick. And of course, as he just said, he's dropping more of those segments that he's been making that have been working out really well on Saturday, plus some of the stuff that wasn't able to be shown because of copyright stuff and so forth.
You got Razor too. Razor.
Yeah,
Razor,
Ray
you here,
finally
man?
made it. Yeah,
He's
Ray
there. He's
made
on
it.
mute, but he's there.
Okay. That, sorry, man, without
He's
talking
muted.
about, penis and dick jokes and stuff like that, which we've somehow got away from. I kind of forgot he was hanging out there, so I apologize.
Is that why you wore the dickie tonight?
It's awesome
yeah.
that Ray is back in action with us, and next week he'll be back too, and then we'll get him more incorporated into this conversation too. Find out what's been going on with Razor Ray Reyes. Maybe he'll have his loot machine and a guitar on standby.
Nice job, Ray.
So, all right. If anybody else got anything, say your piece now. Otherwise, great show, everybody, and thank you very much, Jazz Cabbage Cafe.
Thank you, Jeremy.
See ya.